The morning sun poured softly through the tall windows of Riverside Care Center, spreading golden warmth across the spotless floors of the rehabilitation wing. Lauren Hayes, a 29-year-old nurse with a calm, steady presence, walked down the hallway holding a patient chart close to her chest. Her white coat lay neatly over blue scrubs, and her stethoscope gleamed faintly against her collarbone. Lauren had been a registered nurse for 6 years, and every patient she met reminded her why she had chosen this path: to heal not just with medicine, but with compassion. That morning, she was assigned a new patient, Margaret Thornton, an 82-year-old woman recovering from a stroke. As Lauren reviewed the file, her eyes paused on one note that made her heart skip. The patient is deaf, communicates primarily through sign language. Without thinking, Lauren's fingers shaped the simple sign for hello. It was as natural to her as breathing. Her younger brother had been born deaf, and sign language had been part of her life since childhood. It was rare to meet patients who signed, and every time she did, it felt like finding home in an unexpected place. She reached room 247 and gently tapped on the door frame, more out of habit than necessity, before stepping inside. Margaret sat in a wheelchair by the window, silver hair brushed and styled with quiet elegance. Though her right side was weak from the stroke, her dignity remained intact. You could see it in her posture, in the thoughtful poise of her expression. What Lauren didn't notice at first was the tall man standing quietly in the shadowed corner of the room, watching everything. Lauren smiled warmly, raised her hands, and signed, "Good morning. My name is Lauren. I'm your nurse today. It's wonderful to meet you." The effect was immediate. Margaret's face, once somber and tired, lit up with astonished joy. Her left hand trembled as she replied, "You sign. You really sign." Lauren grinned and nodded, signing back. "I do. My brother is deaf. I've been signing since I was 7. How are you feeling today?" Tears filled Margaret's eyes. "No one here understands me," she signed shakily. "They've been kind, but I felt so alone." "You have no idea what this means." Lauren reached out and took her good hand gently. "You're not alone anymore," she signed softly. "I'm here. We'll take care of you. Together." From the doorway, Alexander Thornton watched the exchange with an emotion he couldn't name. At 41, he was a man used to control. The CEO of Thornton Technologies, a global powerhouse he had built from the ground up. Yet in that moment, watching this young nurse connect so naturally with his deaf mother, he felt something shift deep inside him. For weeks, his mother had been terrified and isolated, unable to communicate since her stroke. No amount of medical expertise or private care could ease that loneliness. But now, this nurse, this woman with kind eyes and fluent hands, had given his mother her voice back in a matter of minutes. Lauren continued her assessment, explaining every step in sign language. Margaret smiled more in those 20 minutes than she had in the past month. When Lauren finally turned, she noticed Alexander for the first time. She startled slightly, color rising to her cheeks. "Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't realize anyone else was here," she said softly. "Are you family?" "I'm her son," Alexander replied, stepping into the light. "Alexander Thornton." They shook hands. Lauren's touch was firm but gentle. "I'm Lauren Hayes, a Mrs. Thornton's nurse for today. She's stable, and her recovery looks promising." I saw you signing with her, Alexander said, still visibly moved. I didn't know any of the staff here could. It's not common, Lauren admitted. When I saw her file, I asked to be assigned to her. I thought it might make her feel more at home. You did more than that, Alexander murmured. You gave her something no one else could. Before Lauren could respond, Margaret tapped the air, getting her attention. Is this handsome man bothering you? She signed with playful mischief. Tell him to stop hovering. I raised him better than that. Lauren laughed, signing back. He's not bothering me. He just loves you a lot. He worries too much, Margaret replied. Tell him I'm fine now that you're here. Lauren translated, and Alexander chuckled. I see she's feeling better, if she's teasing me already. Over the next few weeks, Alexander's visits became more frequent. He told himself he was just checking on his mother's care. But deep down, he knew that wasn't the full truth. He found himself drawn to Lauren's kindness, her calm confidence, her quiet humor. She never treated him differently after learning who he was. She didn't care about his company, his wealth, or the luxury car he parked outside. To her, he was simply Mrs. Thornton's son. Lauren worked patiently with Margaret every day, helping her regain strength, relearn forgotten signs, and adapt her communication with creativity and patience. Slowly, Margaret's confidence returned. One afternoon, Alexander arrived to find both women laughing uncontrollably. When he asked why, Lauren signed while laughing. Your mother just told me about the time you tried to sign when you were 12 and told everyone at church you were a pregnant elephant instead of excited to meet them. Alexander groaned. She's still telling that story. It's her favorite. Lauren smiled. You can see how proud she is of you, even when she's teasing. Alexander looked at her then, really looked, and realized how deeply her compassion moved him. Weeks later, during a therapy session, Margaret suddenly managed to form a clear sign with her right hand. Thank you. Lauren's eyes filled with tears. She knelt beside her, signing, that was perfect. You did it, both women cried, tears of joy this time. From the doorway, Alexander felt something in his chest burst open. That single moment sealed what he already knew: he loved her. That evening, as Lauren updated charts, Alexander approached her. Lauren, he said quietly, can we talk? Her heart skipped. Of course. Is your mother okay? She's wonderful. Because of you. He hesitated, then admitted, I need to tell you something, and I hope it doesn't make things awkward. She looked wary. All right, I've fallen in love with you. Lauren froze. Mrs. Thornton, this isn't appropriate. I'm your mother's nurse. Fino, he said gently. Then I'd never want to disrespect that. But she's being discharged next week. Once she's no longer your patient, would you have dinner with me? Just dinner. No pressure. Lauren hesitated. I don't even really know who you are. Then let me tell you. Alexander said softly. I've spent 15 years building a company and forgetting to build a life. I thought success meant money until I watched you sign with my mother and realized what real value looks like. I want to learn to see the world the way you do. His hands moved unconsciously as he spoke, forming the signs. Please give me a chance. Lauren's eyes widened. You sign. He smiled sheepishly. Rusty, but yes. My mother taught me before I could talk. I guess I stopped using it somewhere along the way. Why didn't you ever sign with her in front of me? Lauren asked softly. Because I was watching you, he admitted. Watching how you made her light up again. I was too busy falling in love. Lauren's lips curved into a shy smile. Then, slowly, she raised her hands and signed, "One dinner. After she's discharged. But you should know, I'm not impressed by wealth. I'm just a nurse with a small apartment and an old car." Alexander smiled, signing back, "I don't want glamour. I want real. I want the woman who celebrated my mother's first sign with tears in her eyes." 2 weeks later, they met for dinner at a quiet little restaurant. Alexander signed almost as much as he spoke, his hands finding rhythm again easily beside hers. She learned who he truly was, the CEO, the innovator, but none of that mattered. What mattered was how he looked at her when she spoke, how sincerely he listened. 6 months later, surrounded by family and friends, Alexander proposed to Lauren, with Margaret sitting beside them, her eyes bright with joy. All three signed to each other in the language that had brought them together. Lauren Hayes, the nurse who thought she was simply doing her job, had changed 2 lives forever, and found love in the most unexpected way. Sometimes love doesn't need words. Sometimes it speaks through hands, through kindness, through hearts that are willing to truly listen. And perhaps the greatest kind of wealth isn't found in what we earn, but in the connections that remind us what it means to be seen, understood, and loved. Disclaimer: this rewritten story is an original, humanized adaptation for creative and educational purposes. It is designed to avoid copyright infringement and promote positive, inspirational storytelling.